Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 26 years. Through two businesses as a success coach and a business strategist, and prior to that, an entertainment publicist and a talent manager for 2 decades. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic to you and for you, but you will live the beautiful life that's meant just for you. You'll come to learn that following your joy is a life and a business strategy. Listen in for inspiring entrepreneurial stories and solocasts that illuminate how by trusting your intuition, you'll create a fulfilling result. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Well, happy fall time, everybody. It's September 2nd, at least here. You're going to hear this on September 7th. But really, September? Where do the months go? I want you to do this is I want you to sit back for a minute and I want you to think about what can you find that you're grateful for this year so far, right? Sometimes, we can be grateful for the challenges we went through, and God knows how many challenges we've all been through, because those challenges that we can be grateful for are happening for us, not to us. You can't understand that, right? Happening for us, not to us. So think about that for a little bit. I know many of you that are, in the metaphysical, spiritual space and the motivational, or I should say the human potential space. I know you get that. But some of you, it may be the first time hearing that, but it's a very empowering way to think, right? It's happening for you, not to you. Yeah? So try to find, and what I use often is the gift in the challenge. Okay. So that could be on your list of gratitudes for this year so far. Okay. Enough about that. So before I introduce our guest today, I want to further discuss from my blog, my life design concept. And that goes like this. In fact, I was with my creative roundtable yesterday, which my guest was on that, which you'll hear from her. And that is this. Is it possible you could be dreaming, as in goals, desires, too practical? Because you know what? I have been. I admit it. I have been. I'm ready to unleash that stifled passion. You too? Because I didn't realize how practical I had been dreaming until I began another discovery mode recently about redesigning my life. I think it feels like every 2 years I'm kind of doing this. On some level, I'm doing some sort of reinvention. So the intuitive directions, they've been coming daily, and I just keep adding more of those thoughts. I'm not into action right now. I'm into receiving the ideas. And that's the point I'm trying to get across here to you, is that when you're in a place of, I wonder what's next. I wonder, it's like that intuitive nudge, that divine discontent, is what I call it, kind of is knocking at your door and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do next? I don't want you, and I'm encouraging you, don't take any actions. Just be in a discovery mode and write this stuff down. Don't let it sit in your head. Okay, promise? All right. So, yes, as I was doing that, I came upon a book, and this is a resource for you that I'm probably going to be using in my coaching. So you're going to get a little head start on it. And that is called Design Your Next Chapter. It's by Debbie Travis. It's a phenomenal book. I am deep in it and inspired by every single page. And her story, which is fascinating, she tells you about it in the book, but some of you may have heard of Debbie Travis. She used to be a She still is, but a lifestyle expert. She and her husband built this global television production company based on initially her TV series called The Painted House in the early 2000s. And essentially, it was a bunch of do it yourself for home decorators and renovators. She loved doing faux painting in people's homes. She wasn't an interior designer, but she was artistic and she loved redesigning, people's walls and people's closets or whatever. So she created this really cool brand, and it just exploded and she became a worldwide, kind of sensation. So one day, into 30 years, I believe, of doing this, she realized, you know what, I'm burned out. Wow, I'm burned out and I don't know if I'm really happy anymore with what I'm doing. She loved and was grateful for what she had been doing, and she had an enormous success. She had books and she had products, and it was one of those lifestyle brands. But she really got honest with herself, and went, wow, okay, you know what I'd really like to do is, and she kind of explains it in the book. Bottom line is, she found, like I did 20 years ago, Frances May's book, Under the Tuscan Sun. And many of you women, I know you know what I mean, because every woman, when that book came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, oh my gosh, every woman wanted to escape to Italy and go renovate a villa. Including me. And that's where that all began, my love of Italy. So anyway, she too got inspired, didn't know a thing about Frances Mayes, the writer. And long story short, that became her dream, was to create women's retreats in Tuscany and leave behind somewhat, although her husband still runs the production company with, I think, some other people. That's what she's been doing since 2009. They found her a villa, they renovated it. It took them about 5 years to renovate it. And it's a fantastic story. The book itself is that, and the women's stories from her retreats and what they did to help them, literally clue into their discontent and start exploring what's their next chapter. Most of the women are between, I'd say, their 50s and 70s. So if you're 30, this is probably not going to resonate with you, but if you are looking for a next chapter, it'd be perfect, right? But most of these women, as you'll read if you pick up the book, they've had great careers and now they're done, or they are empty nested and they've raised their kids and now what's next, right? And so forth and all that. So take a look at it. Here's some questions I want to give to you, because I realize, of course, I'm not alone in this, because I'm kind of at that stage right now. Lots been going on for me behind the scenes, which I'll share much later. And that is, we're not alone. There's hundreds and thousands of women and men like you are asking these questions. What are my dreams? How can I recover and reignite them? What's next? What's my real joy at this stage in my life? And how do I not lose myself again in the hustle and the grind of life? If you're interested in having a chat about that and literally just exploring it, reach out to me, DM me on Instagram or send me an email at support@marladiane.com, and we'll have a talk. Because I've got some new processes that I am now beginning to coach called Follow Your Joy Life Design, and see if that's a match for you. Let's go into my guest. I love it. So my guest, I kind of consider a unicorn in the music industry. She's a woman DJ who'd been doing this gig for over 20 years, right? When the industry was not very populated with women DJs, right? It was mostly men, right? So she's a visionary, a leader in this space, and a beautiful spiritual woman who loves life and travel and dogs and fun and shiny, sparkly disco balls, which she can tell you about, and very funky looking sneakers. I know. So Dana Solomon, welcome to Follow Your Joy.
Oh, I love it. I love that you added the disco ball and the sparkly sneakers.
Yeah. I mean, you must have a closet full of all different types of these sneakers now.
Yeah, I'm trying to control myself. But I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I think I only have about 6 pair right now.
Yeah.
I try to just buy a couple new pair per season. I try to, like I said, control the urges though, but I want them all.
Look, it's a great trademark for your brand. I'll be honest with you. I mean, being in,
And they're comfortable. So.
yeah. Oh, no doubt with the amount of work that you do and the running around, I think it's great. Super fun. And in fact, I took a picture of the one she was wearing. We had gone to an industry event back in, what was that, March? I think it was March or
it was
April.
end of April
Yeah,
or beginning
April.
of May.
Whenever it was this spring. And we ran around all day, and she had these fun looking, kind of van looking sneakers on. Anyway, I digress. So super cute. So here it goes. So I'm going to give you, I want the listeners, I want y'all to hear about her illustrious background. 20 years is a long time, right? To build a career. So here goes. DJ Dana, that's her stage name, is a national DJ and event host doing her thing, like I said, over 20 years. She's known for enhancing each event with her high vibe music, I love this word, mixology, entertainment, and magnetic energy. And that is very true to the word when you get to know her. Dana's experience has brought her to work for major name brands and their events. So Avon and Disney and Victoria's Secret, Lane Bryant, Discover, Crystal Cruises, which you'll hear about that in a moment. Macy's, Dress for Success, MLB All-Star Games, Nike, AC Hotels, NBA, TNT, and I'm sure there's many more. She also opened for major performing artists such as Steve Aoki and Dan and Shay. And Dana was the first female DJ to MC the Las Vegas DJ show and has been a guest speaker at 2 national DJ conferences. And I love this. I mean, has sailed on 11 cruise ships as a guest DJ entertainer. How fun is that? Oh my gosh. And she's been featured in numerous publications. In addition to her DJing, she's also a contributing writer for industry online publications, interviewing DJs from all over the world and telling about their journey. And she's got this, which a lot of DJs have to do this, given that you've heard from several of my male DJ clients and friends, is they have to have the ability to read a room. It's a very intuitive process, and she really knows how to set the fresh, the fun, kind of the unique vibe, right, for that room, and know what beat what they're looking for. And so that's just 20-year genius talents, obviously. And I love this is kind of part of her brand language, and it's true to who she is. Feel the shine, and that's totally you. So very good.
I'm so happy to be here. I wanted to say that first.
Yes,
very honored.
You're welcome. Tell us, in kind of a concise way, because we've got some good questions to follow this, tell us about your work and why you chose this path.
Sure. So it happened one night in college at a college bar nightclub atmosphere. I'll just insert because I'm very proud of the college I went to, Miami University of Ohio, here in Cincinnati, Florida. Go Red Hawks! So it happened, or I should say, it blossomed over conversation with a local DJ there in town who booked all of like the DJs at all the bar and nightclub scene. So from that conversation, I was asking a lot of questions. I was very interested, and he simply asked, "Well, are you interested in giving this a try?" And I was like, no hesitation. Absolutely. Like, what do I need to do? So that's how it started. he kind of trained me on the equipment, trained me on the gear, and like threw me on the decks, is what we used to call them back then, kind of like the decks. And that term is still used today. So that started well, I guess back then it was more of a hobby and a college cash fund back then. And then, of course, it has evolved since then into a full-time career. And as you heard too in my background, so I've been doing it for over 20 years. So it felt like it was a natural fit for me because first of all, I love music, grew up listening to music. My dad was a big music buff. And also I was the first one to hit the dance floor, whether it was at a birthday party or in the club, absolutely just loved to dance. So I felt DJing was a very natural fit for me. And I love the effect that DJing and playing music has on people. It's so powerful with the emotional and physical effect in people. And so just love bringing that joy to people through playing music.
And me knowing you, I mean, it's a natural fit for you because of who you are. Meaning you're bubbly, you're outgoing, you love people, you love a good party, or and when I mean by that, a good time, with just it's natural for you, which that's what following your joy is all about. Is things that are natural to you, that come natural to you, and to listen to that. So it sounds like you listen to that intuition pretty quickly, pretty easily. Right?
Yeah.
But okay.
Absolutely.
So what brings you the most joy in your work and your business, and why?
So I kind of already mentioned it actually just earlier, but it's knowing, that I will be bringing a smile to someone's face or touching, someone's heart every time that I play a song. I may not know exactly who I'm reaching, who I'm talking, but I know for sure I am, just through the years of watching people on the dance floor, watching their reactions to a song that I play, whether it's a wedding or a corporate event, or even if I'm just what I call vibey DJ, where I'm just playing like ambiance music and setting the vibe for an event, because I don't always play for a dance floor specifically. So that's what brings me the most joy, is knowing that I am bringing joy to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what music does too. Music, as we all know, I consider it incredibly spiritual because it's a vibration, and we live in an energetic universe. We live in a vibrational universe, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that's one of the high vibe contributions, if you will, to our lives is music, and music is universal. Music is universal. Doesn't matter what language you're in. In fact, I learned some of this kind of ideology from, I don't know if you're familiar with Freddie Ravel. Freddie Ravel, and if you're listening, Freddie, hello. Freddie Ravel is a incredible, I call it, he's a jazz pianist, he's a producer of music, he's a performer. He was one of my clients when I was in PR. You can look him up, look up Freddie Ravel, and he teaches, as a result of several things that happened in his life, including the pandemic, but even before that, I think it was 9/11. What he did is he scaled his business, in addition to his performing and producing and doing recordings and producing albums for himself and others, is that he decided to teach through the metaphor of music and teach corporations. In other words, a motivational speaker who gets on stage and uses the metaphor of harmony, rhythm, score. I don't remember what the fourth one was, sorry. And he literally, to this day, has become world-renowned speaker on stages for corporations, teaching how to have that harmony and rhythm for your life.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Isn't that cool? Right?
Wow. Yeah.
So back to what you were saying, and these were things that I also loved while working with him in PR, and what he stood for. Right?
Mhm.
So yes, music is universal and it's far, far reaching. So I think it really speaks a lot to who
Mhm.
you are.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Especially on my cruise ship journeys, it has been very clear, of course, how universal music really is because I'm playing to international crowds. So
Yep,
all walks of life.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of joy, right, and this is a spontaneous question, which is going to be easy for you, is that we share in this passion for dogs.
Yeah.
This is part of Dana's life that, I think is important for you to talk about. And that is your love of dogs, animals, and fostering dogs.
Yeah.
So give us a little, kind of behind the scenes, a little hint of what's that about.
Gosh, sure. Well, I'm a big dog lover. I grew up around dogs. We not always had a dog growing up, but we did have a number of different dogs. So the fostering idea came about. This was back in 2020, and so prior to that, I had run a pretty tight schedule, traveling a lot. My lifestyle definitely was not complementary to having my own dog. While I really desire to have my own dog. So the next best thing I thought was to become a foster dog mom and help out with one of the rescue organizations. And also, too, is for me, volunteering and giving back to the community has always been a very big passion of mine throughout my entire life. So I have done some kind of volunteer work at some capacity for different various organizations throughout my life. So I felt that time, because I had a little bit more obviously time on my hands as the world, came to a pause, that I felt, well, this would be a great time to explore that. And so, and actually, I apologize. It wasn't in 2020. It was 2020 that I started thinking about it, but it was actually the beginning of 2021 is when I made that decision to go ahead and fill out the application and try it out. And just the thought of being able to help a dog and in his journey from either being a stray or being surrendered to finding him a forever home just really brings me so much joy and like tickles my heart to do that. So
Yeah.
last year, so to this date, I fostered a few dogs. I did have one long-term dog last year, Buddy, and and Marla knows the story of Buddy, but I don't want to go into too much detail, but he was special and he taught me a lot about life and about myself. I learned so much about, I think the biggest lesson from him was about unconditional love. And
Mhm.
he unfortunately, he left this world, but he of course lives in the doggy heaven world now. He crossed the rainbow bridge, and I know he's very much around me in spirit to this day. And it was that was a beautiful, even though a sad experience. And that's where I felt like, wow, one of those life experiences where you get to experience both spectrum of emotion at the same time, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So that's where, yeah. So that came about. So I try to help out. Now this year's been a little different. It's tough, as you can imagine, kind of like my lifestyle again. It's kind of back to busy, and I'm always having to rely on help with the dogs. But I've tried to still do what I can and take. There's a lot of ways rescue organizations need help, though, not just fostering dogs. So I do what I can, even if it's just very, very short term. Like I just actually fostered Mac, who's a shepherd mix, and I only had him for 1 week, and he was adopted. So that was
Oh, so,
it was a rewarding experience. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And many of you that have been listening since the launch of the podcast, I mean, I have a huge love for dogs. Dana and I, have conversations always about this. And my thing about Mojo, when he passed in May, it was a big turning point for me in my life. 17 years of complete joy. Between that and my son, it's probably the only thing that will bring tears to my eyes. Yeah, amazing stuff. So good on you. Good on you for doing that. Okay, so let's have you, share a story in life or with business where you followed that intuition, the theme of the podcast, that you followed your intuition that really led to a, fulfilling result, a fulfilling, ending that you went, I knew I was spot on with that intuition. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've shared this story actually before. I've written about it in one of my articles for one of the magazines, and I actually used it in one of my presentations. So because it's such a powerful story, and I'll try to get through it without crying. I'll just
yeah.
tell you right now. It's a so this was during one of my cruise ship contracts. As Crystal Cruises is one of the cruise lines that I've had the pleasure to be a guest DJ on board. And it's, if you're not familiar with Crystal Cruises, it is a 5-star luxury cruise line, and the ships travel all over the world. So there was one particular evening though that really stands out for me, where I fully trusted my intuition and to play a certain song. So just to give you a premise of what the night was, it was a pre-dinner dance set. I was in one of like the cocktail lounges, and it was formal night. And formal night, if you haven't been on a cruise ship, it's a really special night. Everyone is dressed up. The women look fabulous and glamorous, and the men, are in their tuxes and handsome. Yeah. And so, to me, like the energy is already, very vibrant and happy. And so as a DJ going into a set, I want to help create that tone going into the night and being pre-dinner. And so what I do is I go into the DJ booth, I'm looking through my music library, getting ready to play, trying to figure out, what do I want to play tonight? Do I want to go with jazz? Do I want to go with like Rat Pack? Do I want to go with, any adult contemporary? I mean, I could go a million directions, let's just put, but for some reason, my gut led me and my eyes had set on Moon River by Andy Williams. Now, as you know, Moon River has multiple artists that have sung it and have done different versions of it. And Andy Williams' version is, for whatever reason, I have never actually, pretty sure I never had played it. I had played some of the other versions, but for some reason I was being drawn to the Andy Williams version. I wasn't sure why, and so I just said, kind of went back and looked a little bit more, and my gut kept telling me, no, just play Moon River Andy Williams. It's a wonderful song if you haven't like heard it. Yeah. Anyways, so I play the song, and a minute later, one of the guests, Carol, her name is, she's actually a breast cancer survivor, and I had actually gotten to know her and really, really liked her. We had some really great conversations during the voyage. She walks around the corner with tears in her eyes, and of course, I was like, what happened? But she said, Dana, you have no idea what you just did. You have made my night. And she walks around the corner. I said, oh my gosh, Carol, what, tell me. And she said she had, so her husband and her had cruised all the years, and her husband had passed, the year prior. And this was her first time cruising without him. Mm. And so she had said a prayer before she left her cabin that night to show her a sign that he was going to be with her that night. And when she heard me play Moon River, that was the sign. So she had said that was their special song. And so she knew at that moment that he was with her that night. And so I gave her this huge hug, of course, and I'm embracing her. We're both like tears streaming down our face. And I still, like I said, I get very emotional and get goosebumps when I share this story, because I felt so special that, I was chosen to play that song to give her that sign. Mm-hmm. And that, again, going back to the power of music, and it was just such a memorable music experience for me. And it really just, again, like solidified why I absolutely love like my job, and that and how powerful too our intuition is. Mm. If I hadn't listened to that and had just decided to play another song because it didn't seem right, I wouldn't have been able to create that experience for her and for me. Yeah. Like I am like forever changed by it. Mm-hmm. And that definitely that's the story.
I love it. I mean, there's so many levels going on here. Because one of many things that you do as a DJ is you're creating emotional experiences for people
Yeah.
because again, music is universal. Music's very emotional, on both sides of the spectrum. And it's a very spiritual story in that you listen to your intuition, which is, we know it's connected to up there, and you were used as a channel
Mm-hmm.
were used as a channel from her husband to communicate. Honey, I'm here. I'm here with you. Yeah, beautiful. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if listeners, if you can relate with that, but it's to me, these are miracles that occur every day.
Mm-hmm.
The little small miracles absolutely happen every day. And sometimes we're the channels in which that miracle can occur through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
what
and I think
happened for you.
yeah, and it's important too, I think, when I think those downloads come and when we're in stillness
That's
too,
right.
when our minds are more quiet. Especially I know, and I could be, yeah, attest to that because I'm way more aware of those signs and
Yes.
signals and downloads when I'm present.
Yeah. No, it's and I've witnessed that in our conversations with you, meaning, we talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You're very spiritual, you're very connected and awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Based on your experience, what's a tip to our creative audience that you want to offer? Yeah.
Yes, I had so many, and I was trying to think of something unique that nobody would suspect. But I just said, just go with whatever your gut says to share. So the first thing that came to mind, because this was something that I have become aware of that actually not all entrepreneurs do. And so I feel maybe there are listeners out there listening to this that don't do it, or maybe they can consider to start doing, is using that do not disturb function on your phone. It is wonderful invention and use it intentionally. Let me tell you, it is a game changer.
And how so?
Okay, so and this is definitely science research based facts, is, well, obviously, first, we live in a world full of distractions, and some we can control and minimize, and your phone is one of them. And yeah, so I feel that well, we get our most productive work done, and of course, again, this is definitely research proven, that when we have no distractions. So I put that do not disturb on when I want to do my focused work, because I definitely am the most productive, efficient. I get so much done like in 1 hour with my phone on do not disturb, no messages coming in, putting my email notifications on pause, than I can in 2 hours. And and I've talked to some other colleagues, and they'll keep their phones on, they'll keep the iMessage on their computer, they'll
Yeah.
keep it on. It's like, no, like I can't work that way. It actually drives me nuts. Like so I put it on do not disturb. I check it when I take my breaks, to make sure there's nothing, and that's my time to respond, is when I'm taking my breaks. And then I also use it in the evening through the morning. It goes on at 9:30 at night,
Mm.
every night, unless I'm out DJing. And then it goes off at 9 a.m. actually. So I do not respond. You will not hear from me. And my friends can attest to this. Like, you will not hear from me prior to 9 a.m. in the morning. It's very rare.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God. Bravo. This is one of the greatest tips I've heard in the
yeah.
last few months.
Really?
Yeah, it's so simple. It's not like the first time I heard it in conversation, but
Yeah.
on the show, number one. And this is fantastic because it's about boundaries, about
Exactly. Yeah.
self-care, right? It's about your self-care. We all need this. We all live with a phone.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you listeners do this, and bravo to you. But you know what? I'm going to take that tip and use it myself.
Yeah,
I,
you
I mean,
should.
yeah, no,
Well,
seriously, I think it's
it's so
fabulous.
funny too, the reaction that I get when I've told people that, they're like, what? Like they act like the end of the world's gonna happen between the
Yeah,
hours of like their upon waking and like night. Now for me, I set nine, I mean, it doesn't have to be 9 a.m. It's just I have my morning routine. I call it my morning sunshine routine, where
yeah,
I wake up and journal and do breath work and that kind of thing. And that time to me is sacred.
that's right.
So and I don't want anything to disrupt that. And when I have, made the little mistake or that I check my phone and I'm
Mhm.
so eager to respond to whatever it is, I notice it throws me off. It throws my
100%.
flow off the rest of the day.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I encourage and then challenge anyone to try it. Just set
Perfect.
those boundaries, see how you feel, and let me know.
No, it's really terrific. I mean, as you know, I mean, I too, I have that, the sacred time in the morning. I don't really let anybody, I don't let the world touch me, if you will, till a certain time. But that's one thing I've left out. I mean, I'm very, very good at my morning times and not
Yeah.
doing, but that I think could really kind of be the icing on the cake. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I
Yeah.
was just gonna add really quick, because someone had asked me this. I said, what if, like a family member needed to get a hold of you in an emergency, but there's settings. I don't know if people are aware of this. You can set it so that you can allow notifications to come in from family.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like all of my family's on that. So if they need to call or text, I do see that. Just
Ah,
so I know, like, oh, okay,
okay.
like my mom needs me or my dad needs me or my sisters,
Okay.
you can make that.
Oh, that's good. So you can have like a select
Mhm. You
list.
can select specific
Yeah.
people that can still reach you during.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a plus about technology. That's good. You like that. All right. Terrific. Well, our time has come to, a close for now. So please let my listeners know where can they get in touch with you personally as well as for business. Maybe they want to hire you to be the DJ for their, big event. So yeah,
Yeah.
where can they reach you, Dana?
Yeah, sure. Well, online, my website's really easy. It's djdana.com. That's djdaYNA.com. And then Instagram, I'm pretty fairly active on Instagram, and that's at DJ Dana as well. If you would like to jam to some of my mixes that I create, that's on mixcloud.com/DJ Dana. And then I also have a Spotify profile. So I have like a monthly moves playlist that I add new music to. I also have a variety of all other kinds of playlists, and I like to theme them. I like to give them cool titles, and also some of my corporate events, like I mentioned earlier in my bio, like Avon is one of my bigger corporate clients. I've created a number of playlists for them, so those are on there as well.
Right. Terrific. Very, very good. So I'll be putting that in the show notes, of course, so you'll be able to find that there. It has been, as I expected, a pleasure. I always love talking with you, and I was excited to, really share you with my audience.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you.
I'm so excited. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, everyone. You have a wonderful time, rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're listening to this. And remember to always follow your joy. Take care. Thanks for listening in. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my 3 free downloads to uplevel your business and your life. How about you take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram by sharing your highlights of what you learned today? I'd love to connect there with you. Until next episode, take care.